It's estimated that logistics accounts for around 10% of energy-related CO2 emissions worldwide, so it's a significant contribution to climate change.
Without a concerted effort to reduce those emissions from this sector, we're not going to be able to meet Paris Climate Agreement. The challenge we have is that freight is the Cinderella. It is an outsourced service by many companies. Governments see it as the last in line to get attention, and as a result, nobody's really taking ownership.
The first thing we need to do is having a measurement system, and today we even lack that one, and that is exactly what the LEARN and the GLEC project address.
The LEARN project was funded by the European Commission as a 3-year project, and the aim is to mobilize companies to account for their logistics emissions and report them so that their emission footprint becomes more transparent.
And therefore an early stage in the process is to quantify the emissions, and a big contribution that LEARN is making as a project is improving our capability to measure emissions.
With regards to emission calculation, it's about a common meter. For example, when you are a shipper, you want to have from very different suppliers data about their emissions. If you cannot add them up, you do not know what's your impact.
In fact, actually, there is a beautiful example in the United States. They started this Smartway program. It's a voluntary program that is run by the Environmental Protection Agency, but more than 3,000 companies have already signed up to it. It creates this neutral, governmental-backed platform on which everybody feels safe to share data and drive improvements.
I think government has a really important role to play in setting targets and providing appropriate policy decisions, facilitating data exchanges in a way that alleviates some of the very important and legitimate business concerns about confidential data and things like that. You need to kind of overcome those processes so that you can have that platform so that you can put out information.
This different tool and methodology, it really helps to harmonize all those different associations that I've mentioned, their different calculation methods, and it really gives us something that we can actually do an apples-to-apples comparison then across our whole supply chain.
Because at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is provide information to fleets, to shippers, to carriers, to logistics providers, so that then again they can make the best business decision, and we think that the best business decisions are also can be the best environmental decisions. It's
definitely going to be a marathon. It's not going to be a sprint, because if we look at our global supply chain, we've got a lot of mature LSPs, what we call carriers basically. I think these guys are very sophisticated. They've got the tools, resources, people to do a lot of the calculations. What I'm really worried about, or what I want to concentrate on next, is the small regional trucking companies. Some of these companies, they've never been asked to do CO2 footprinting. They don't know greenhouse gas protocol, let alone the GLEC framework. So we really want to work with these guys and really train them and get them on board to, the new way of calculation, which is the GLEC framework.
We're asking companies to do 3 things. One is report and set targets for their logistics emissions. Second is implement solutions across the supply chain to decarbonize. And third, collaborate with their partners, with their peers, and with governments and other stakeholders to make this happen.
Freight is a global movement, and moving things around nowadays is clearly supply chains don't respect borders. So for us to be successful, there has to be an ability to incorporate data and practices.
The biggest role that government should be doing now is make sure there's more collaboration. This problem is only going to be solved if there's supportive policy that works for business too. So reaching out to business and others, make sure that there's enough research to advance this agenda, make sure that there's policies that are supporting this, and making sure that there's programs such as green freight programs you've seen in the US like Smartway, that makes companies work together in order to reach this emission reduction. Collaboration is where government needs much more focus.